Here's a new Gigguk video when he became the main character. I suppose he makes a review of one of the regression manhwas that he read. And now, let's see what's this all about.
This is gonna be something special. For the longest time, anime fans had this rabid obsession with media that came from Japan and only Japan. Animation not made from the motherland? What do I look like? A cartoon fan? Reading pictures left to right? That's not how you read manga. Then, Korean webtoons blasted onto the scene, quickly carving its own niche in the international community, proving to weebs that if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, but quacks like we'll give it a pass. This opened the world to a whole new genre of even more power fantasy stories with an OP main character. Isekai, no worries, just jump over to Korea, where we have regression, reincarnation, tower climbing, and death games, where reading through all these allows you to get more brain rot than being a part of the Jujutsu Kaisen fanbase. But what if there was a series that takes all these elements from every one of these series you can think of, blends it all together for an unabashed love letter not only for these genres, but for fiction itself?
I'm being serious.
A series that combines a meta take on every power fantasy trope you can think of, Hunter x Hunter style exams, battle royale death games, legendary historical figures from the past, cosmic deities from all global mythology, interdimensional eldritch horrors, nightmares, and finally, Twitch streamers. And this is one of the most important aspects of it.
I'm being serious.
So grab your popcorn, fasten that seatbelt, hang on to your knickers, because today we're talking about Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint.
Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. The name that it will be hard to remember.
But before we get to that, let me go back to my roots for a bit and talk about Isekai, because one of my favorite Isekai is having a collaboration with today's sponsor, AFK Arena. AFK Arena is a strategy-based mode.
I will never play AFK Arena, even though I enjoy AFK Journey, but it's because Journey is about story, Arena is about PvP.
If you know me, you know I'm a big fan of Slime. It's one of the more interesting and unique isekai anime airing right
I don't need
now.
to watch new season of
I'm excited that AFK Arena is able to bring their colorful
Slime
cast
isekai
and world to their game for this collaboration.
when it's gonna come out.
Exclusive game story that
Completely.
involves Rimuru and Breast Girl Shuna interacting with the other heroes across the AFK Arena content of Asperia. Rimuru has always been my boy with his fun attitude and crazy power set. I mean, look at him. Dude is a monster, but in a way that doesn't feel cheap, and I'm just glad Shuna is going to get more time with her lord. Now AFK and Tensura allows you to be Rimuru, unleashing devastating spells as an intellectual mage, while Shuna provides strategic support with her intellectual-based skills. They even gave us Rimuru's original Japanese voice actor and gorgeous original art. And guys, the best part is all players, old and you can play as these two characters.
Just wait for the sponsor segment to end.
100 different heroes across 7 different factions. With season 3 of the anime airing right
It
now,
will happen. It will happen soon.
Worldwide, this is the perfect time to get in on AFK Arena, guys. So, what are you
No,
waiting
it's not copy.
Link in the description to download AFK Arena today and play as the best slime. Thank you very much to AFK Arena for sponsoring me today, and with that said, back to the video. Kim Dokja is a nobody. An average
Kim
officer
Dokja?
graduating from an average college, living an average life as a loner, whose only hobby is reading trashy fantasy novels that absolutely no one else reads. Insert Benji panel here. One
Just
such
like
novel
me.
is the series 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse, a web novel with over 3,000 chapters. One Piece fans quake at this man's dedication, except the series is so underground and gone on for so long that Dokja is the only person still reading it. And it remains that way as he loads up the final chapter and becomes the sole person to reach the end of this novel that he's been following for over a decade.
What an achievement.
The lights go dark. The train is on, crashes, everyone screaming, and Dokja begins to realize that the story of his novel has suddenly become a reality. Monsters spawn in the real world. Everyone is forced into a series of death games where these little munchkins set all the rules. The apocalypse has started. To help everyone get through the games, everyone is given an ability, and for Dokja, of course, he is given a pirated copy of the entire web novel and the ability to read at super fast speeds. Yes, his anime superpower is reading fast. He may not be able to beat Gojo, but he could probably beat a Jujutsu Kaisen fan's IQ. Armed with the knowledge of the ensuing apocalypse that he and only he knows the entire story of, Dokja realizes, oh my god, I can now be the single most obnoxious light novel reader that's ever existed. Stories within stories. is a plot hook I am an absolute sucker for. Maybe it's because I've made watching stories become my job, but when you watch enough anime, you start to see all the repeated tropes, all the reoccurring cliches. Sometimes you start to wonder how you do differently than how the story plays out. This series plays to that fantasy to a T, as Doctor lives the story of his favorite novel and molds the events as he sees fit. You ever watch a movie or TV show and thought
Molds?
to yourself, man, I could solve everyone's problem if I just did this? Doctor does that. Or maybe there's a major character you absolutely despise but just keeps showing up and you're like, man, fuck this cum-stained mouth-breathing piece of shit. Can we just remove him from the story already?
He has to go, blood.
Doctor does that. Are you one of those
What?
people who watch videos like how to beat every game in Squid Game or how to beat the monster from A Quiet Place? Doctor probably made those bloody videos because he thinks he can do a better job. Doctor is your average Redditor. The world of the novel 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse doesn't just come alive. The very characters that inhabit the story become a reality, allowing him to game the system, befriend the characters he knows oh so well, making him only slightly less parasocial than your average K-pop fan, and molds the story in the way he would have gone through the original novel. Alright, I ain't gonna lie to you. A lot of you are probably gonna see these panels and read some early chapters and go, this is just more solo leveling. Let's go down the checklist. Leveling up system, video game-esque abilities and interface, death games with different clear conditions. A protagonist that is OP because he has prior knowledge of the events that are about to unfold. If this was a manhwa trope exam, it'd be scoring A+ in Power Fantasy brain rot. But the series takes these cliches you are familiar with and uses it as a springboard to run in all sorts of interesting directions. Cults start to form with a ranking system based on how far people got in the original novels. They fight an isekai protagonist and he almost wipes the floor with them because he's so OP. Doctor meets the actual main character of the original novels and he's everything you'd expect. He's cool, calm, good looking, ruthless, perfect on the surface in every way. When this
But-
motherfucker pisses, it's probably in laminar flow. But it turns out, from the perspective of someone who's not a named character in the original story, he's kind of a dick. He's ridiculously powerful because he's a regressor who can respawn at the beginning of the story every time he dies. Hey, I talked about regression, man. But what that means is that he's become this nihilistic arsehole who doesn't care for anyone who can't help him progress further than the last run. And he gives up on the world at the slightest unforeseen obstacle because, well, what's the point when he can just start all over again? To the point where he gets depression from the disconnect he feels with the world. So,
Oh.
after hearing this, Doctor slaps the shit out of him, goes hashtag not my protagonist and tells him, bro, can we just skip the emo character arc this time? Yeah, the series is meta as hell. And here's the thing, meta anime is something I have a soft spot for, but only in those rare cases that the author actually takes the effort to make something interesting out of it. Most of the time you just see a quick fourth wall break or a self-referential joke. Look, you didn't fall on my panties for once. At best, it's like a funny Easter egg, but at worst, it feels like a cheap gimmick. Now go a layer down and you see something like Bakuman or Shirobako. Stories about creating stories, where you can learn something but still be invested in the plot of these creators themselves. Then you have your One Punch Mans and Eminence in Shadows, series that not only plays to its tropes, but embraces everything the genre is about to craft
makes fun of him.
an entertaining story and world self-contained from anything that it's satirizing. Now, if I were to scale omniscient readers' viewpoint against shows like these, it would land somewhere about here. This series takes the meta-narrative and explores it in a depth that I don't think I've ever seen before. With so many wild ideas, I don't even know where to start. Take one of Doctor's most iconic abilities, the fourth wall. On the surface, the fourth wall seems like your standard OP ability that, hey, is a reference to the fourth wall. Oh my god, so meta. A power that protects him from shit seemingly no one else in this story is able to block. It stops even the most powerful, unblockable mental attacks. It shields him from the pain of any injury. It can dampen his emotions to allow him to distance himself from some of the most horrific events and witnesses in the world. It's so powerful that even the Dokkibi, the little creatures that are meant to be running everything, aren't able to bypass fourth wall's protection. Yeah, pretty damn broken. But as he continues to encounter different situations, stuff that never happened in the way they did in the original novel, things start to get weird. He encounters his old bully from his real past and the wall starts glitching a bit. He meets someone that plays a part in some big traumatic event that happened to him before and it shakes violently. It resonates with character moments that meant something to him in the original story, and the more the ability begins to act out, the more you begin to realize the fourth wall is his fourth wall. The one that separates and protects him from the rules of his perception of this fictional world. But as the world
The more he cares about
and reality start to blend
what
together,
happens,
you see the cracks beginning to form.
the less
fourth
forceful he
wall
has.
can't protect him from the real struggles of his life outside of fiction. And that's just fucking cool for a concept, while being so on point for the theme of the story, because this is a story about stories. Not just the power of a story, but the relationship between an author, the reader, and the story being told. And to do this, it has crafted this insane, intricate world with a system that all comes back to this central idea. Okay, pause for a second. You're probably confused as to why I mentioned live streamers in the intro and how that has anything to do with this story. Well, turns out everything is being live streamed to this cosmic Twitch for the enjoyment of constellations. What are constellations?
What?
Well, that's the name for all these deities or historical figures that are watching the live stream. Because, you know, when you're a god, apparently you have nothing better to do than just to watch a subathon run by some celestial Mr. Beast. And I'm not talking about some made-up fake characters. Greek gods and goddesses, Archangel Uriel, Christopher Columbus, these are actual figures from our own history.
Guan Yu.
If I had to make a comparison, I'd say it's kind of reminiscent of...
Wait.
But instead of
What?
sending hero spirits to Earth to battle it out, like in Drifters, they can shower their favorite contestants with subs and donos so they can use the in-game currency to buy better equipment and resources. It goes so far that people can bargain exclusive stream and sponsor contracts that allow contestants to inherit special abilities of
The hell?
constellation they're in a contract with. Why is this even relevant? Stories. The power of a story is the power system in this world.
Is this
Whether it
Battle at Chibi?
constellations wanting to sponsor someone so they can have their story represented, or someone building a powerful story themselves to get recognized by all these celestial beings. And your abilities are tied to the power of the stories you create or the stories you choose to take on. And that's the thing.
Everyone has a story.
Yeah, what she said. I went to the convenience store today because I was craving fried chicken. They were out. That's a story, not a powerful one, unless of course you know the pain of being deprived delicious Lawson's fried chicken. What is it that makes a good story? How do you craft something that will resonate deeply with an audience? And what if your strength was correlated to the strength of your own personal story? Will your story include some grand historical feat, an epic sea battle, or will it become the stuff of legends, passed down through generations, eventually transforming into something mythical? It's a system based on anything and everything you've ever seen in fiction. And if that's not one of the coolest concepts for a power system you've ever heard of, I don't know. Go back to doing sign language with Naruto or some shit. Now I've just went over
11 minutes.
Thank you, Alan. Trying to convince you that Omniscient Reader is different. It's not like other power fantasy manga. And I'm here to tell you, it's not. For a very long time. Credit where credit is due. Doctor is far more likable than your typical bland, self-insert, overpowered protagonist. He has great chemistry with the various cast members, but for a very long stretch of the series, it tries to present you with the idea that he's just an ordinary dude, an underdog, overshadowed by the actual protagonist of the novel. He's just like you for real. Yet we can clearly see that he's really smart, charismatic, a natural leader who knows the solution to every problem no matter what the scenarios throw at him. One of the running jokes to keep him grounded is that everyone thinks he's just really ugly, and bro, if this dude is meant to be ugly, I might as well commit
What?
to F4 in my life right now, because what fucking hope do I have? It takes quite a bit of commitment before the series even starts to show its hand. We are 200 odd chapters in right now, and only recently have some of these characters been put in interesting situations that challenge their worldview, or had bombshell revelations that give us an insight behind what makes these characters tick. And yet, all this time, I feel like we are just at the start. This is a series based on a completed web novel with 551 chapters, and we are just about a third of the way through of the story and have yet to fully get into the meat of it. Every novel reader I've seen has said it only continues to get better, wilder, paying off all the characters and systems to elevate it to a whole new level. And while the last thing I want to do is make smug novel readers feel more superior than they already do, the series has shown enough shades of greatness, set the foundation for so many interesting things that I'm actually inclined to believe them. But as for right now, to me, Omniscient Reader's viewpoint has just been the ultimate love letter for the genre I can't seem to get away from. An amalgamation of all your isekais, regressions, death games, power fantasy stories that so many people write off, but with a drive.
Should we wait for anime of this or start reading webtoon?
If you have the patience, my gut is telling me that we're witnessing a series that is about to evolve into something truly special. Or I'm wrong, and we just get cool OP man kicking ass with fantastic art and cool action. That's win-win in my books. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you very much this month.
It was a fun video.
Arthur Curtis Eckstein, Basil, Dysfunctional
Don't
Degenerate,
leave a like.
Blabberwocky, Jonathan Thick, Mike 808, Bisaka 12315, Payne Patchett, Pony Stark, Shouting Zombie, Watergeist VT, and everyone else, my Patreon, for helping to support me for this month and making this video possible. Okay guys, there you go. I actually went through with a promise to make a video I said I was going to make. Shout out to the 3 people that remember the big 3 part 2 rant from 10 years ago. But yes, I swear this is the end of my manhwa brain rot journey.
No.
Honestly, if you're gonna read any of the titles I've mentioned in my previous manhwa videos, this is it. I have a good feeling about this one. I only think this is going to get better and better. Oh, and if you don't know, I'm going to be at AX next month. So if you're around Anime Expo in the California, LA area, then
Not
hope
me.
to see you there. Anyway, though, that's it from me for today. I've been Gigguk, and I'll see you all next time.
Thank you for watching.